Gold participants from around the world. I'm Kristen Schwartz, licensed midwife and MC for Gold Learning. And today I'm chatting with Tamara Drenttel Brand about her upcoming presentation, Providing Culturally Sensitive Support for Breastfeeding Muslim Families. Welcome, Tamara.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for being able to come here today and chat with us a little bit about your upcoming presentation. But before we jump into the topic itself, can you tell our listeners a little bit about yourself and your professional journey?
Yes, of course. Um, let's see, where do I even begin? Um, Trying to think. I, sorry, it's pausing for a second. I got my master's in Middle Eastern Studies at the University of Arizona, Tucson, where I focused on gender and society in the Middle East. And that's where I met my husband, who was also studying Middle Eastern Studies, focusing on history and politics. And when we graduated, we both got into graduate programs in Beirut, Lebanon. And so after a whirlwind year, we decided to get married very quickly, and we went to Beirut together. And he got his PhD in history, and I got my master's in public health. And it was getting my master's at the American University of Beirut in studying public health that I got into breastfeeding. It just, the breastfeeding rates in the Middle East in general are very, very low. And in a place like Lebanon, where the water is contaminated and children still die from diarrhea every day, it's a huge public health issue. And so I just became the public health professional in me. And then at the same time, my second year of my program, I was pregnant. And so all of that kind of intertwined. And all of our projects that we had to do for all of our classes, I just focused on breastfeeding. And it kind of just went from there. It wasn't something that I intentionally set out to study. But then after I gave birth, and I breastfed my son. And at the time, there were literally maybe one or two lactation consultants in the entire country. La Leche League wasn't there yet. The nurses, the doctors, I mean, there was no support, nothing. And so, I kind of just, after struggling myself, I breastfed my son. About a year later, I became a La Leche League leader. I was the second leader in the country. And then from there, I just started doing my, different credentials. Luckily, with two masters to qualify for the IBCLC exam, I didn't have to take that many classes. And then it was just getting my clinical hours in and everything. And so, but we lived in Lebanon just up until 3 years ago. And it's changed drastically since we've left. I mean, now there's lactation consultants, breastfeeding peer supporters, La Leche League leaders, nurses are doing breastfeeding promotion. It's really neat. There's an NGO started by 6 or 7 breastfeeding mothers to promote breastfeeding, and so that's kind of my professional journey.
Right,
I'm now
right.
we moved from Lebanon to the United Arab Emirates a few years ago, and so I'm kind of starting everything over now. So even though it's in the same region, it's a
Right,
completely different country, culture,
right,
everything.
right.
And
No,
so
you're
I
right.
guess that's kind of where, both academically and, personally, I got into lactation and why we, two Americans, have
Hmm.
ties to the Middle East. That's a question we get all the time. Why are you guys
Yeah,
living there? You
right.
know,
Absolutely,
we get that,
absolutely.
and
Right.
my son is blonde hair, blue eyed, and he gets that all the time. But
Right.
this is the home he knows. I mean, he's lived his entire life here. So
Yeah.
he'll be 7 in June. And I mean, he knows we go back to America to visit family, but he considers the Middle East his home.
His home.
So,
That's where he was born and brought up. That's right. Well, thank you for sharing your journey with us here. Very interesting. Also, there was not much help and support out there when you were pregnant and you were nursing and breastfeeding. So you created it. You created it for other mothers there. That's wonderful. That's wonderful work you did there and still doing there now in a new country that you just moved to. How then did you become interested? You answered that a little bit, but maybe you can go a little bit more into detail to present on this topic to others.
it came when I talked to medical professionals in the States. There's just, and then in other countries in general, there's so many stereotypes and biases and misconceptions about people in the Middle East, whether it's Christians or Muslims. It's not even a religious issue. It's just there seem to be a lot of misconceptions. And I know myself, because I'm so lucky to have such amazing friends who've helped educate me on practices that were totally foreign to me, that I'm able to understand where they're coming from better, because I have an insight into certain rituals, certain practices, why some people practice or do something that may seem totally foreign or even weird to someone else. And I feel that knowledge is power. And if you're going to be helping clients or patients from different cultures, then
Hmm.
I feel like it's our ethical responsibility as lactation consultants and healthcare professionals to understand where they're coming from, because it's not our place to judge, it's our place to understand. And I feel that it can create a mutual a relationship based on mutual respect and understanding and caring. And as lactation consultants, we can better help our clients and our families if we're understanding where they're coming from. And
I
so
liked very
that's,
much how you posted that, how you stated that it's not our place to judge, but to understand. That's beautifully said. Now, before I let you go, Tamara, the last question I want to ask you is, what would you like our delegates to take away from your presentation?
even though my presentation specifically is focusing on Muslim families,
Right.
um, I would like everyone to walk away with just a greater understanding and tools and tips on how to provide culturally sensitive support for any breastfeeding families they work with. It doesn't matter what background they come from, what ethnicity, if it's a different religion, or if they're from a different country. I would just like people to be able to walk away with some tools to be able to better help their clients and breastfeeding families, and to support them in their breastfeeding goals.
Sounds wonderful. I am very much looking forward to the presentation, providing culturally sensitive support for breastfeeding Muslim families. Thank you so much, Tamara, for spending time here with us today to chat about the upcoming presentation. Tamara's presentation is part of the Gold Lactation Online Conference 2018 and will be live on April 24th. For more information on this presentation and when it's being held in your time zone and on the other presentations in the Lactation Conference, please visit goldlactation.com. A big thank you to all our listeners for participating, and thank you again, Tamara, for your chat here with me today. Bye bye now.